one of the most outrageous allegations actually fingers the man who was just speaking so mournfully that day after the assassination of President Kennedy, the Vice President of the United States himself, Lyndon Baines Johnson. Could it have been LBJ? Could he have been involved in this terrible crime? Well, today we're going to investigate specifically that incredible theory. Was Lyndon Johnson, the 36th president of our country, in any way involved in the plot to kill his predecessor? Craig Zirbel points the finger directly at LBJ. Craig is the author of a controversial new book titled The Texas Connection, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. He certainly had motive. He wanted the job, but presumably every vice president wants to be president. Let's take your theory now in its specifics.
Number one, what I do in my book is I perform a criminal investigation of Lyndon Johnson. And while the Warren Commission performed a criminal investigation of Lee Harvey Oswald and determined him to be a murderer without a motive, if you take all of these other possible parties who could have killed the president and combined all their motives together, they wouldn't have as many as Lyndon Johnson himself. He had personal motives, he had economic motives, he had political motives. We start with motive. Then from there we go to opportunity. Lyndon Johnson was involved in planning the trip. After we go to opportunity and you look at the Texas Connection, which is what my book is about, everything that was involved in this assassination, pre and post, Lyndon Johnson was involved in. We can go to Jack Ruby. The Warren Commission was a politically biased entity created by Lyndon Johnson for the sole purpose of getting him out of another political scandal. This one, of course, the worst of his career. And the reason I say that, if you look back in history, 1963, November 22nd, what happened? The Texans came out and they said it was a lone killing, a lone assassin. And if you look at law, at the killing of a president in 1963, if it was caused by a lone assassin, was only subject to state jurisdiction, not federal. And Texans came out and they said it was a lone killing. Therefore, they had exclusive jurisdiction to investigate the case and prosecute.
Craig, are you indicting the whole Lone Star State in your theory?
I don't have to, Geraldo, and the reason for that is, if you look at history, and no one is going to deny it on this panel, on the evening of the assassination, the truth of the matter is Lyndon Johnson called people in Dallas, including the Dallas district attorney, and told him to charge Lee Harvey Oswald with being a lone assassin, regardless of whether anything else he could prove.
Do you allege that LBJ himself called together a group of co-conspirators and said to them, I want this man dead, I want him to be killed in Dallas?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that he specifically ordered a murder?
Absolutely. And in fact, if you go back and look at history, in 1961, Billy Saul Estes, who was one of the people involved with the scandal involving Johnson, has testified that Johnson ordered the killing of an agricultural agent down in Texas. That was when he was vice president. An interesting point that Robert brings up when he discusses his theory involving secret team is that what you state in your book is that the way we can determine the people who are involved in a secret team is by looking at who got the best jobs afterwards, and that's on page 439 of your book. Who in the world got the best job after the assassination? Lyndon Baines Johnson.